Mark chapter 7, verse 15 reads, "There is nothing from without a man that entering into him can defile him, but the things which come out of him, those are they that defile the man." Now, you might read that verse all by itself, or as I like to say, you may read that verse in a vacuum. And if you're into health and nutrition, or you're against, substance abuse, or you've ever had like a tick on you, or you might read that verse and go, well, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense, because things that come from the outside can definitely affect you. However, verses don't exist in a vacuum, and that's why it's important when you're reading and studying Scripture that you consider the context in which the verse appears. And what we see here is Jesus is discussing the difference between outward physical signs of spirituality and legitimate spirituality. If we read up in verse 5, it says, "Then the Pharisees and scribes asked him, 'Why walk not thy disciples according to the tradition of the elders, but eat bread with unwashen hands?'" And here you have the religious leaders of the day saying, listen, these guys didn't wash their hands before they ate, and this is something we're supposed to be doing. So what's wrong with your followers? Why are they not doing that which is right and good? And Jesus gets on their case in the following verses, saying, "He answered and said unto them, Well hath Isaiah prophesied of you hypocrites, as it is written, This people honoreth me with their lips, but their heart is far from me." And there you have it right there. Listen, on the outside, they're honoring me, but on the inside, they're not honoring me at all. Verse 7, "Howbeit in vain do they worship me, teaching for doctrines the commandments of men. For laying aside the commandment of God, they hold the tradition of men, as the washing of pots and cups, and many other such things ye do. And he said unto them, Full well ye reject the commandment of God, that ye may keep your own tradition." And Jesus is saying, you have laid aside the truth. You've laid aside that which is truly spiritual, that which is really right and good, for these outward signs of spirituality that you've developed on your own over time as a culture. You've stopped looking to the truth for the truth, and instead you look to yourselves in order to create this sort of idea that you are righteous. And then that leads us down to verse 15, where Jesus is saying, listen, nothing from without a man that entereth into him can defile him, but the things which come out of him are those that defile the man. Here we have the difference between, listen, this is not about necessarily how you act spiritual on the outside. This is about your true character that will determine your spirituality. We know based on what comes from you, what manifests itself from the inside of yourself, that is going to actually show how spiritual you are or not. Now, if you don't understand that, because reading it can be like, you are in good company, because the disciples didn't either. As we go down to verse 17, it says, "And when he was entered into the house from the people, his disciples asked him concerning the parable, saying, What on earth are you talking about?" And in verse 18, "And he saith unto them, Are ye so without understanding also? Do ye not perceive that whatsoever thing from without entereth into a man, it cannot defile him, because it entereth not into his heart, but into the belly, and goeth into the draught, purging all meats? And he said, That which cometh out of a man is that defileth a man." So in between verses 17 and 19, Jesus is describing the physical process of the digestion of food and saying, listen, what you eat, your body processes it, and then it deals with it, and then that's all taken care of. That's one process. However, he's talking about the spiritual process as we go to verse 20. He says, "And he said, That which cometh out of a man, that defileth the man. For from within, out of the heart of men, proceed evil thoughts, adulteries, fornications, murders, thefts, covetousness, wickedness, deceit, lasciviousness, an evil eye, blasphemy, pride, foolishness. All these things come from within and defile the man." Saying, you might put on an outward sign of spirituality. You might wear all the right things, do all the right, procedures, do all the washings and look very clean. You might be all glitzed up and glamored. You might be seen in the right places at the right time. You might move your money around appropriately. And sure, these things are all right and good, but we can't confuse those things with that which is genuinely spiritual, because if from our insides we don't see the fruits of the Spirit, instead of those things, we see evil thoughts, adulteries, fornications, murders, theft, covetousness, wickedness, deceit, lasciviousness, an evil eye, blasphemy, pride, and foolishness. If those things are coming from us, then we need to ask ourselves some questions, because we can look as good as we like, but if we see that we are being driven by and driven to sin, then we've got a problem. Because there are so many good-looking sinners out there that it's just, we got to realize there's a difference between the show we put on and that which is truly manifesting itself. Now, don't get me wrong. If we genuinely care about our health, we'll be careful what we put in ourselves. We'll try our best to take care of ourselves. But we can't do one as a substitution for the other. We can't lose the plot and decide that we can create our own spiritual appearance while neglecting the truth of Scripture.